Good evening and welcome. Hey, we'll get going soon, but first we're going to give everyone another moment or two to join. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, An Industry Reset, the Resurgence of Integrated Marketing and Direct Mail. It's presented by the American Marketing Association Southern Connecticut chapter. I'd like to take a few moments while we're waiting for people to join to talk about your regional AMA chapter, the AMA Southern Connecticut chapter. The chapter officially serves Fairfield County and its environs up to New Haven and north toward Litchfield, but we also serve Westchester County in kind of an unofficial capacity. Membership's open to professionals, academics, and students, and anyone really with an abiding interest in marketing. Your local chapter presents 8 to 10 events per year. They're open to the public, and in this board year, we're planning a few members-only events as well. When we do charge for events, our members pay less than the general public, one of the many values of membership. For the foreseeable future, we're going to be holding our events online as we are today. Some will be free and others will have a small fee to help pay for chapter operations. We have a diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative that will provide financial assistance to a local charity, resources to help minority-owned businesses gain greater exposure, and create internship opportunities for minority students from area colleges and universities. Right now, the AMA is having a sale on memberships and has waived chapter fees. With the new focus on member perks, training, and certifications, there's never been a more important or better time to join. Our local chapter is offering events such as tonight's panel discussion, and our website at amasouthernt.org has our upcoming and past event information, as well as a soon-to-be-launched job board. If you want to become involved as a member, volunteer, or serve on the board, please see the site for contact information, or you can email me, Ken Lempet, at kl@austinlawrence.com. During the webinar, you'll be able to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window to submit questions or comments at any time. Your questions will be answered at the end of the discussion, though we might pick up a thread from you if we're able to right within the talk itself. The webinar is being recorded and the playback video will be distributed along with some resources from our panelists, and that'll be made available to all attendees. And importantly, and important to chapter support, our sponsors for 2021 season include Media Associates, Austin Lawrence Group, Wonderland Altamira, and Alpha Graphics of Stamford. So we have 3 awesome panelists today to help shed light on the ways that direct marketing is being put to use and integrated with digital marketing techniques. I'd like you to join me in welcoming Dave So from Alpha Graphics, Alan Sherman of IWCO Direct, and Clarn De Palma of MNI Target Media. So gentlemen, before we get started, please tell me a little bit about you and your companies. And hey, Dave, can we start with you?
Sure. Ken, thanks for putting this together and having us here. My name's David Stowe. I am the Vice President of Business Development and Marketing at Alpha Graphics in Stamford, Connecticut. And we're a full-service graphic communications company. What that means is that we're a one-stop shop for pretty much all of your marketing needs, including digital and offset print, large format print, signs, graphics, sign installation, direct mail, and graphic design. Because we can do all these things under one roof, it gives our clients cost certainty, and it also allows them to have a lot of control over both production times and quality. And it gives our clients it gives us the ability to give our clients the personalized service that they deserve. And we can handle anything from the deli around the corner to Fortune 500 companies. So we have a wide range of capacity and abilities.
Awesome. Hey, Alan, tell us a little about you and IWCO, please.
So I am a VP of Marketing Strategy for IWCO Direct. IWCO Direct is based in Minnesota, and we are the country's largest direct mail printer and direct marketing services company. So not only we started our existence as a printer about 50 years ago and grew and grew, and now we have a direct and digital marketing services agency that is based in Minneapolis, but I'm actually based in the New York area. And we have about 50 clients. So about 50 out of our 100 clients are taking advantage of our marketing services capabilities. So my background is in direct and digital marketing strategy, marketing analytics, and this agency really specializes in creative, direct mail, and digital creative strategy from people like myself, and data services as well. So we secure from a vast repository of data sources, data that works for our clients. So, and our clients tend to be large ones, but we also deal with small regional clients as well. So we have clients like Comcast, Charter, American Express, United Healthcare, Geico, Citibank, and then, but also more regional state type of clients like Blue Cross Blue Shield for a number of states. In the Westchester area, there's Save-A-Tree, which is a kind of a regional lawn and tree care service. So a pretty varied collection of clients.
Awesome. Thank you. And hey, Clarn, tell us about you and MNI.
Thanks, Ken. My name's Clarence De Palma, Executive Vice President of M&I Targeted Media. That's a Meredith Corporation company. You might recognize some of our titles, People Magazine, Better Homes and Gardens, and in Connecticut, we own WFSB Channel 3 that serves both the Hartford, New Haven DMA and Fairfield County. M&I Targeted Media is a digital activation company. We work with about 1,200 clients nationwide, working on their digital needs from a plan, strategy, and activation to analytics to attribution. We delivered last year about 7.4 billion ad impressions in the digital space, which for us is a pretty big number and one of our largest. Digital is about 75% of our business, and the other 25 is doing local insertions in magazines such as People, Cosmo, O, all the Meredith titles, all the Hearst titles, and then you may have seen inside doctors' offices, when we can go to doctors' offices, the Cover Wrap brand, which is on top of People magazine with pharma companies, where we deliver them directly to doctor's office that would be likely to write that particular prescription.
Awesome.
So we have kind of a three-phase approach, digital being our biggest, into in-book magazine and cover wraps.
Awesome. Thank you. My name is Ken Lempit. I'm president of the AMA Southern Connecticut chapter, and I'm also president and chief business builder at my agency, Austin Lawrence. And my business really focuses on helping software companies to drive revenue and to have the right strategy for their go-to-market. So I'll serve as the moderator this evening, and I'm going to stop the share here and allow us to get right into it. I think the first question I'd like to ask is, are you guys seeing trends in the movement of budgets due to COVID? And where is the money going that's not going to events or in-person promotions? I think our audience would like to know what the most innovative use of budgets are that you feel comfortable sharing. So you all have a lot of clients doing some really cool work. What are they doing? And what would you like to share? And hey, Clarn, why don't we start with you? If you've got a mini case study, that would be a great thing to share as well.
I got a couple of accounts I can bring up without naming names, more of a category things, Ken. But COVID's really been an interesting time, because when it hit us all in March and everything stopped, budget stopped too. So we saw most of our business pause. And fast forward to where we are today, most clients are starting to accept a new normal. So what we're seeing in the categories like retail, furniture, we're really seeing home and garden is exploding. Anything that has to do with home and fixing your home is a really good category for us. So what we're seeing is people pivoting away from the outside world. And what I mean by that is we're not seeing a lot of digital out of home advertising, but we're seeing streaming audio and OTT explode. We're seeing targeted digital and deterministic targeting really explode. And we're really seeing it in a couple of categories. And one I could bring up is a furniture category. We work with a company out on the West Coast that's in 9 states. And they do a lot of broadcasts, a lot of linear, did a lot of regular traditional radio, and also was doing a lot of outdoor. And they realized that they really needed to pivot and focus on 2 phases. A was e-commerce, and secondary was in-store. So what they were trying to measure is, does my marketing in the digital space really work? And one of the products we have is called Motto, where we can track attribution on the OTT CTV basis and show that someone actually saw a spot and actually walked into a store or bought something on their website. So I think what's happening with clients in that space is they're really being conscientious with how they spend dollars. But if you have the right way of focusing on the right return on investment for the client, they will open up their checkbook. So furniture is one, and we're seeing a lot in grocery. That category, no pun intended, is really moving off the shelves. It's that product that people need every day, and they're not afraid to walk into the store to buy things. So if you can work on a client, and we have a few of them right now marketing with us, if you can work with a client to show them the right product and idea to work with you, they're really apt to really spend money right now. So those categories are really right now hot, and COVID really hasn't affected them at all. It's what's affected mostly is the CVB category. We can talk about that later.
Yeah. So it's a category play more than a tactical play in your mind, or it's category heat is really.
It's absolutely category, because you're not going to be able to walk to the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce and try to sell them a reason for people to visit, because no one is really getting on a plane right now, and no one feels comfortable staying in a hotel. Most folks for their vacations want to drive 5 hours. That's about their max capacity to go someplace. And quite honestly, the category that's really ballooning is like the Airbnb category, VRBO. We're seeing a lot of transition from what was a traditional CVB type of purchase for clients, really focusing on ways of reaching that consumer that wants the vacation, but is afraid to get on a plane and afraid to get in a hotel.
Hey, Alan, do you have anything to add on this topic in terms of movement of budgets due to COVID?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is to his point, category driven. So, I mean, we saw when things started turning bad in March and April, we saw a drop in spend by financial services companies. So again, if you think about it, many of them are depending on credit data, and with people losing their jobs, very difficult to really get an accurate gauge on someone's credit. And so financial services has really cut spending, particularly in direct mail. Starting to come back now a little bit. We're seeing that for the fall. Other industries, insurance has, property and casualty insurance has stayed in terms of spending, has continued to spend. I think they've seen opportunity there. Big clients of ours are the cable industry, and one interesting thing I wanted to mention, because this is public information, one of our clients, Charter Communications of Stamford, announced in its Q2 earning report that it added a net 100,000 video subscribers in Q2. And so while other competitors like AT&T and Dish showed a downward trend in video bundle promotions and had stayed out of the mail, they took advantage of their competitor drop-off and continued to mail and actually invested in direct mail. And actually that worked out for them because there was less competition in the mailbox, right, during that time.
Are you seeing, Alan, are you seeing any new entrants in direct to consumer? Seeing anything there?
You mean in terms of certain industries?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are seeing actually in grocery, in food delivery services. I mean, it's interesting because the online food delivery services like Sunbasket, and others like them, being pure play online marketers, really, didn't invest in direct mail in the past. But what we're seeing is that they've kind of discovered that they can actually grow through direct mail, and so are investing heavily in it and speaking and working with us in doing so. So some of these channels that started out as pure play online are actually looking at direct mail because they're realizing they're reaching the limits of what they can acquire just purely online.
Well, I mean, maybe we should get onto that topic about drive to web. It's on the list of things we agreed we wanted to talk about. Somebody want to jump in and talk about the integration of digital and print and how drive to web is evolving and where people are finding greater joy in their conversion rates?
Well, Ken, do you want me to, before you move on, we do a great deal of event work. So, and we've seen a real allocation of budget. So if you wanted me to just kind of comment on that quickly,
Yeah, sure.
I can.
Come on in.
So, I mean, a large number of our clients and a large amount of the work that we do involves live events, conferences, fundraisers, that kind of thing. So many of the organizations and companies that we work with have big dollars tied up in live events. And we have seen them reallocate in a number of different ways. Many of them have gone to virtual events. And what that means is they've had to take those dollars that were initially going into hotels and food and other things like that, and they're reallocating them into technology platforms. And more importantly, especially with live virtual events, is driving engagement. So you have to be really creative and you have to be very innovative to drive engagement. So we've done a lot of different things with trying to get actual materials into people's hands for the live events to both keep them interested in what's going on. In a lot of cases, the people putting on the events have put some things in the packages that we sent out that the people have to stay on and be engaged in order to realize the benefits of those pieces of those materials that are in there.
So you're putting materials in attendees' hands that are required to participate?
Yeah, so the normal swag and things like that are for live events, we've been sending those out in boxes, and some of our other Alpha Graphics around the country have been really doing well with that. And what we're also doing is putting in some informational pieces that will call out something that comes up from a speaker in an event. And a lot of times there's, you have prizes and other things to drive engagement. So there's a lot of little tricks and innovative things that you have to do to drive engagement on live events. And what we've also seen is some companies reallocating budgets from these live events to actually improve the workplace, because one of our clients is a big Fortune 500 company here in Stamford, and they've got probably 150,000 square feet of office space here in Stamford. They had no one in the office from late March until late June, and they actually had us go in and we did a big signage and graphics overhaul of their entire workspace, because they wanted the workspace to be new and welcoming to their employees when they came back. So certain companies are actually reinvesting in their employees because they're recognizing that keeping their employees happy and keeping them with the company is crucial, especially through difficult times like this.
Yeah. Cool, thank you. So I definitely want to get to this drive to web thing too, because I think that a lot of our attendees probably care about that. They've all got web presences, and the web presence is more important than it ever was. What is drive to web evolving in your client base? Alan, do you want to pick that thread up for me?
Yeah, it is, and we've developed a number of integrated direct mail and digital products, which so kind of what's going on is the same person who's getting direct mail is seeing an identical Facebook ad or display ad at the same time. So we run what we call digital overlay, and we're taking a postal file and matching it to the digital universe. Now, simple things like QR codes, for example, which for many years have really kind of gone nowhere in direct mail and elsewhere. You think about what's going on now with COVID, you go to some restaurants and they just give you a QR code and it drives straight to their menu online. And so no one, I mean, we've probably all experienced that.
We've all done the no-touch menu, right?
Exactly. So, but this is an interesting point to bring up from a marketing perspective, because there's no reason, especially with QR codes, that they can't be used more in direct mail and other printed material. And it's a great way. I mean, we were just talking through it with a client who was complaining that people respond to her direct mail, but they just, instead of going right to the personalized URL, they just go to Google and they type it in, and then she doesn't get credit for the sale. So we started talking about QR codes, and she said, that would be great. It would take me I would get credit, and it's an easy thing. And
So that's an interesting point. It's really hard to change consumer behavior, right? And one of the things, like anytime I see a tagline, we're changing how X does Y, I always make a mental note, hey, check in a year or two, because nobody's changing anything. But maybe in this case, the broad impact of COVID is changing certain behaviors that marketers can take advantage of. So that might be a really good tip for people who are watching the webinar to revisit QR codes that they may have thought weren't relevant, right?
Yeah, I mean, just one more thing about that. I think a lot of people for years just thought that you needed a special app on your phone to access, but now really all you need is your camera. And you just need to educate people to that in your marketing material.
Any drive to web stuff, Claren, that you'd want to bring up? And I think that this is a really great thing. This QR thing was a great little nuance. The more I think we can have theory and practice, the better. So I'd love to, inspire you guys to give us theory and practice.
We can do so much in the digital space that we see that it's not even drive the web right now. COVID has changed everyone's habits so much because everyone's home. And if you think of what's sitting next to you all the time that you can't look at in your car is your phone. So what we're seeing, it's almost drive to mobile first, then drive the web, because more and more people are consuming their content on their phones or their iPads. So if your app, if you're a company, is not lock solid with your website, so if a consumer, what I mean by as a consumer tries to use it to get information, and if it's an iPad based and it flips or it doesn't show right, that's a real poor experience for the consumer. So we're thinking for most of our clients, we make sure that when you're trying to drive to the website, that their website is solid, but also their app solid. And
so drive to device is something people should be actually thinking about, huh?
Truly is, Ken, because if you think about it, especially with your phone or even your iPad, if you don't have an app, first thing you do is, I hate to say it, we go to Google. We Google it. And we basically go to someone's site, which normally bounces to what's kind of a mock of their website, because on a phone, you can't have a full website, doesn't play right. But if the content that I'm looking for gives me a bad experience, especially in this environment, because we're looking for a lot of information. We're looking for a lot on schools right now, back to school, local content, local information. We're looking at more information on COVID, how are our numbers in Connecticut? Can I go to Florida to see my grandparents? All that stuff's important. So if people's mobile sites aren't delivering what you need, you're going to get a bad experience and people will not go back. So we're seeing a lot of that, and a lot of recommendations to our clients is make sure all four experiences, because it really is the website, the mobile, the app, and then your Facebook engagement, because again, that's a place where a lot of people look for information, whether it's a TV station or news entity, you're getting information, good, bad, or indifferent from Facebook. You need to make sure your information is working in being seen in a way that gives the experience for the consumer the right one. And on your marketing that way, you need to market the right way. People think, oh, I'm just going to use a tile ad. Well, that's boring. That may not work for the consumer you're trying to reach. So make sure as you're going down that road and helping clients and looking at your clients, that research is driving the decisions on what you're using, whether it's tile, video, OTT. 30s don't work really in OTT and video. It really should be a 15. It makes the experience better for people, makes them happy. But the drive to digital is so important. It's the key, especially in this whole world we are now. And it's not cheap.
Dave, I have a question that, I'm going to ask everybody to answer, but I want you to come in on it too. Is the conversion everything here, or are people measuring softer stuff? Are they measuring brand awareness or, the attitude toward a brand?
Well, I think specifically in relation to COVID, especially early on, I think the content and the tone of any message that any company or organization put out was crucial. I think you needed to be very sensitive to what was going on. You needed to show empathy both to your clients and to your employees. And I think the messages that that companies put out early on will go a long way to how people feel about those companies going forward and whether they choose to interact with those companies and use their products and services. Also, just chiming in a little bit with the move to mobile and to web, coming at it from the point of view of starting with direct mail. And as Alan said, there's a lot of technologies evolving that can integrate many other services on top of that. One of them being the post office has informed delivery. What that is you can sign up for informed delivery. It's a free service with the post office. And a quick synopsis is basically you get an email every morning and it shows you images of the mail that's coming to you in your mailbox that day. Now, that's really good, but on top of that, it's a great tool for marketers because if you're, for instance, doing a direct mail marketing piece, you can then create a web ad that you attach to the informed delivery that the person's seeing when they get their email, and they can click on that and it can go to an ad, and then that ad you can use to drive to a landing page, to a website, or any other kind of device.
So
that's just a sample of integration.
Is that a media opportunity? You have to buy that media?
So the service from the post office is free.
For the consumer, right?
For the consumer, and it's free for us as a marketing professional to use. Our preparation of the ads, obviously, and submitting that and linking that all together obviously takes work, and we do charge the clients for that. But they're not paying for postage, any additional postage, or any additional click fee or anything like that with the post office. And currently, there's over 30 million people signed up for informed delivery, and that's growing by I think over 300,000 every week. So it's something it's good now, and it's only going to get better.
So I want to go back to this question though on measurement. Is the conversion everything, Alan, or are people measuring other things? Softer measures of success. Is the balance shifting at all?
I think it really depends on the medium and the industry, right? In my industry, measurement is everything. Direct mail is not cheap, and it's rare that you would send out, at least for most of my clients, it would be rare that you would send out direct mail just as an awareness piece. You're looking for someone to take action, to respond, to pick up the phone, to go to the website. With the cost of postage and printing, it's not a insignificant investment. And so direct mail still pays for itself, but it requires the right mix of strategy, cost efficiency, creative, the list. All of those factors have to be really well done in order to return the right type of ROI. So I think, in my line of work, yes, direct mail definitely serves as an awareness piece, but it would be difficult to get a major marketer to invest in it if that's all there was to it.
Got it. So I'm just going to go right back to you and then to Clarence on this kind of follow-up. So if we're talking about tracking some first-time customers converting off direct marketing pieces, are we finding changes in response rates? Is it getting easier to get conversions since so many people are at home due to COVID? Are response rates changing? What are the trends in terms of the data, so that if we haven't been in market in a little while and we were going to go back in market, what might we expect? That's for you.
That's Alan.
Who are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was someone else. Most of our work is around acquisition. We haven't noticed really any decline in response rates. The industries that are sticking with direct mail through all of COVID are the ones that are doing well with it, and we haven't seen a drop off. Think about direct mail is that you've got people that are home now much more than they were before. There's no commute before and after, and so people actually have more time to spend with their mail. and they don't rush through it as quickly as they may have in the past. And so direct mail is actually a very effective way to reach people at home. There's we do a lot of digital marketing as well, but at the same time, when someone's opening up a piece of direct mail, it's not in competition with an ad to the above or an ad below or to the side. There's no, CNN with blaring headlines or Fox News, so there's actually less distraction at the point of interaction with direct mail. And so with people being home more than they used to be, we're actually seeing better response rates than we used to for the industries that are still doing well in COVID.
Can you just give an example maybe of something where, you've seen a change in response rate for the better, and any attribution on that?
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be in products that are doing well right now. So for example, home improvement, certain types of retail like Walmart or Target or big box retailers, home improvement, that sort of thing, just like it is in digital, is doing well. Insurance is doing well. Cable, video, anything like that is we have, we work with most of the large cable providers, especially because they don't compete with each other. They're in different footprints. And so they are, I think they hesitated in their spend briefly, and then put their foot back on the gas because people are home. And
Sure.
things like, and then things like Netflix, I mean, the viewership is going crazy.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, is there anything going on regionally in Fairfield County? Because I know that, a lot of your clients are, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. Any regional overlay you want to put on some of these trends?
Well, kind of just to build on what Alan said, a couple things. One is we're finding it's an excellent device right now for B2C because those things like home services that Clarence had brought up before, those are things where you have a captive audience at home. And people are also, from our experience right now, are being more receptive to direct mail than they were pre-COVID, simply because there's so many digital communications and things that you can look at on your computer, and it becomes an overload after time, like you mentioned, with all the pop-up screens and the the breaking news.
Yeah, we've
and
all become pretty good at tuning out.
So
We're our own pop-up blockers, right?
So, I mean, for just some anecdotal feedback that we've gotten is people actually look forward now to going to get their mail. It's something different. It's change. And on average, too, is usually get 7 to 8 seconds to capture someone's attention when they have a tactile piece of mail in their hand. And from a couple of surveys I've seen, that's actually gone up by a few seconds right now. And as most marketers know, every second that you have someone's attention makes your conversion rate much more likely. And what we've seen is we as another anecdotal piece is we work with a siding and painting company that previously had done a whole series of direct mail pieces about a year or two ago, and they did okay with it. They were happy with the results, but we just did a whole series for them, and they told us that their conversion rates and response rates are up, depending on the mail piece, anywhere from 10 to 15% over where they were previously. And also, I think it's crucial because you can talk all you want about mail's great or email or video, any of that, but content is so important. I mean, you can use any medium, but if you're not targeting the right audience and your content is not speaking to that audience, then you're not going to have success. So, I mean, that's really one of the most top line things that I would have anyone take away from that.
Awesome. I want to go back to this question I asked, and maybe Clarence, you have some insight into this on the DTC. Are there new entrants into DTC, and for the participants here, that's direct to consumer. Are there brands and categories going direct to consumer that either were not present before or are really going in a greater way than they were before? Are you seeing that happening?
We're seeing it heavily in the digital space. And one category that really is exploding with direct to consumer is the universities and schools. They are very concerned and very nervous about trying to fill up their schools. I mean, look what's happening. You'll take University of Connecticut right now. they just had a number of COVID cases again. And the number of people is, I think it was 30 or 40% actually were in dorms. That's going to go down to zero eventually. And that's a lot of revenue for the school. So what do they have to do? Get more kids into the online classes. So we're working with about a dozen different schools, from big institutions to small community colleges, trying to help them get people to sign up, because this next coming year, SATs are optional. And direct consumer is also challenging because you can't market to people 18 and under. So you're trying to hit them 18 to 20, 23, 24, and their parents. So it becomes a price play for them. But the key, what most of these institutions are seeing, is it's about the attribution and the return on investment. If I'm going to spend $100,000, how many people am I going to get to go to my website, take a virtual tour, and then actually fill out a common app or an application? So for us, what we have some tools that can start that process, where the person actually sees the ad, goes to a university website, fills out the actual virtual tour, and then we can see, did they actually go on the virtual tour? So we can give true metrics on the investment. Did it work or did it not, in actual real time? And we're finding now, because budgets are so tight, especially in that university and college space, but they're growing dramatically, so many more are spending, that there's a real opportunity to take advantage of that. But metrics are not what they're looking for. They're looking for real attribution. Is my money working? And if it's working, I'll spend more. But if it's not, for some of these schools, we will see in probably 2 or 3 years, some schools close down, because they won't be able to keep up with the number of students that won't be going, because they'll take years off because of COVID. And secondarily, the investment they have out in their school or the research facilities, or what they're paying teachers, they won't be able to keep up with it. So the smart ones are attacking it. The ones laying back are going to have some challenges. So we're seeing that space, especially direct to consumer, different consumer, because it's not someone that's buying something. But think of a school. The ticket for some of these schools is not inexpensive for an online, and eventually they'll get back to classes and in-person classes, and that's where they'll be able to make some more money. So that's a big category and a big place where we're seeing that group really attack in a time where they need to.
Interesting. Thank you. So I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to get into, sort of where we are in the calendar. We're entering a traditionally challenging time for marketers, those who spend on media anyway, right? Going into the holiday time is already tough. And now we've got a presidential election on top of that, and one that's, incredibly, just very media centric, right? The media money that's going to be thrown at it is more than ever before. This one's going to absorb almost all the available media, especially in the battleground states. So what recommendations do you have for, national and regional advertisers, B2B or B2C, to make their dollars go as far as possible? And one of the things I asked you in the prep notes was, should you just avoid the battleground states? I think there's about 15 of them that are going to be truly hotly contested. So, Alan, do you want to take the first risk here on what do we do? Yeah, the political season is going to really absorb a lot of media and a lot of attention. So, what are you guys recommending?
There's going to be a record $10 billion spent on political advertising this election. So the most ever, right? So it's really going to be difficult to break through that clutter. Competition for ad inventory will be tough, driving up costs. And I'm sure a lot of that inventory is already taken. We're seeing on the digital side, we're seeing a shift in some advertising from preferred social networks like Facebook or Instagram to Twitter, simply because of its real-time news focus. So we're seeing, more of that.
One thing then is pick some media that might have more availability and are more instantaneous, so you can get some feedback on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook has dominated, and Instagram have dominated social media. Twitter has suffered by comparison, but I think some marketers are recognizing Twitter's kind of real-time news focus, and so are shifting some dollars there. So that could be an opportunity for some people. In terms of election week, I think it's going to be very difficult to compete for attention right in and around the election. I think direct mail, can still get in there because I think it for the reasons I discussed earlier. I'd probably, be very cautious about investing serious dollars in marketing right in and around election week. Just like I would around the holidays or something like that. That's going to get a lot of attention. People are distracted.
Well, sure. Like traditionally, like radio advertisers wait until January because the inventory is so much less expensive, right? So
Yeah,
so as we get closer to election day, it's going to be harder to compete on these prime media properties.
I think it will, and I think not just for inventory, but for attention.
Sure.
So I think it's probably maybe a good time to focus on existing customer relationships too, like a CRM. So reinforce your message to your existing customers if you've got other channels to reach them, whether it's if you've got a customer database or CRM, reach them through email, potentially reach them through direct mail.
So you have greater relevancy to the people who already know you.
Exactly.
So maybe this is a time to shift to upsell and re-engage versus acquisition for a period of time.
I think so. Yeah.
So on a regional basis, Dave, our politics are pretty set here, right? So there's going to be a lot of political mail, a lot of political advertising, but maybe in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, we don't have that same kind of frenzy. Do you think there's going to be a difference and more opportunity for our regional marketers to still be able to do acquisition versus retention?
Yeah, so we play in the political market quite a bit. Like right now, we have over 5 million mail pieces between now and election day that I know of that have to go in the mail, and those are going all over the country. But I think to complicate everything is what we're seeing from past elections and cycles is that the campaigns still have no solidified mail plan at all. They don't know when they're dropping the mail. They don't know when they want it to hit. So all that is going to make trying to plan your marketing mail even harder and trying to figure out volumes. I was on a call earlier this week with the head of political mail for the post office, and what he said is that political mail's up 20% this year over all other years, but marketing mail is down. So those two volumes kind of coexisting, who knows what that's going to leave for marketing. The other thing too is because of kind of the regional and fractured approach that our country's taken to COVID, different states and different businesses in those states are opening up at different times and are going to have marketing dollars available at different times, and they're actually going to be able to have clients interact with them at different times. So I think marketers have to think regionally, like you were just asking, because in the Northeast, where people have a pretty good handle on COVID, hopefully it won't flare up and get worse, businesses are slowly but surely opening. And like you said, the kind of the political part of that is kind of locked in. The Northeast is fairly blue. There's not going to be, there'll be plenty of political mail, but not like there is in those other states. So in the Northeast, it might be okay to invest some dollars in marketing mail, but not so much maybe in Florida or Georgia or Arizona or some of those other states, both because COVID's flaring up and there's so much uncertainty, and because they're just going to be getting inundated with political mail.
Hey, we actually had a question from the audience that I think kind of fits in on this. And Clarence, maybe you can take this one, at least start with this one. And it's a great question. What degree of risk exists for brands to become intentionally or unintentionally associated with either of the political campaigns? And I'm thinking of, not just brands, but also artists, right? I think Neil Young sued the Trump campaign asking for copyright infringement. So is there risk in other ways for brands getting associated with the campaigns?
Could be. We do a lot of business in this space nationwide. And if you look at New England, just real quick, and I'll get to the rest of the question, Maine's going to be huge. There's going to be a lot of money spent in Maine because Susan Collins is vulnerable. She's got some challenges. And District 5 in Connecticut might have some challenges with Hayes might be challenged. I mean, the polls are closer than everyone expected. the key, if you're a brand and you're a nationwide brand, this is what we tell some of our clients. There are spot pockets of the country. You need to be very careful how you put your message out there. And David said a second ago, Florida is going to be a circus. It is going to be a swing state. It's going to be multiple races going on in a couple places where it could be a challenge for an advertiser to break through any clutter, both on TV, digitally, and on the radio. Same thing in Arizona, but in Iowa is going to be a real big challenge. But if you're in a place like a Connecticut, a Massachusetts could get busy, but I'm not sensing it, you'll be okay. The clutter won't be as severe. You just need to be careful to where you put those sites, especially digitally. You may not want to be on CNN.com. Good site, nothing wrong with it, or any of the news sites, just to be cognizant of it. Your local news sites like the TV and radio, they're going to report local. Those will be ones that'll be brand safe and you'll be okay.
So yeah, that brand safety and adjacency thing takes on a whole different dimension, right?
100%.
We used to think of it just purely in terms of adult or other themes, but now you have these things, the politics kind of dominating the news cycle and the damage that your brand could achieve as a result of
Some
that.
of our cycles, Ken, when we had real big races, when Linda McMahon was running, if we all remember when she ran, it was one spot after another, and you'd see a spot for Raymore Flanagan. Well, you're in a place, yes, your advertisers, good ratings, all that, good eyeballs watching, but are you consumed next to a message that you don't want to be? So it's in those states that are going to be like that. We advise some of our clients to pivot and go in a different direction. We show them ways that they could spend their dollars if they're concerned about it. Some aren't, but we show them a way that will keep them in an environment that it's as brand safe as we can make it. 3 weeks before the election in Arizona, there'll be no brand safe anywhere. It will be spot after spot. The mailboxes will be filled. It will be a circus because we're already seeing it right now because that could swing the Senate because McSally is very much behind. And if she's behind in Arizona, that means Trump will be behind. And that's not good for the Republicans in their eyes. So that will be an influx of dollars like we never seen. And then we have this guy everyone's familiar with, Bloomberg, who's decided he's going to attack some congressional districts to try to swing that to the Democratic side. So that will be interesting. So there's a lot of things to put into the equation. It hasn't exploded yet, but come Labor Day, all the way through Election Day, in those states that are swing states, it will get very, very crazy.
So, and just to add on to that,
yeah,
Ken,
thanks.
Like I said, we have like millions of pieces that we currently know are going to go out for politics. And we've been alerted by several of our clients that are doing big mail campaigns that they expect late money coming in to these. And they were asking us to let them know about our capacity for mid-October into Election Day, both for mailing and for printing. So I think there's a lot of money that is not allocated yet that is going to end up being spent also.
Right, I think it's like 71 days or something, right? Is
75, I think now?
It's 70 something. It's not too many.
I think Obama said 76 last night, I think is what he had said.
So let's not get too deep into the politics, but how is the post office doing? That was one of our kind of pre-webinar conversations. Alan, do you have some data for us that you might want to talk to? And I know, Dave, you also have some stuff you're going to want to bring in here.
Yeah, so I'm just going to read you. I just have my company put together a very detailed explanation of what's going on in the Postal Service. We have a team of people that work with them full time. Obviously, they're a big partner of ours, so I'm not going to. So what I thought is maybe at the end of this webinar, I could share the whole we could share the whole document with anybody that is interested. But I'll give you a couple of highlights. So the largest volume of outbound absentee and mail-in ballot volume will be mailed out in the last week of September, mid-October. So it's roughly going to be about 80 million mailed-in ballots. And of course, voters can choose to drop these in the mail via collection boxes or drop them at election ballot collection boxes. In any case, it's just 20%. 80 million represents about 20% of the 420 million daily mail volume processed and delivered by the USPS on any typical day. We really see no reason to change planned mailing campaigns or schedules due to mail-in voting. I think the greater concern is really just spot areas due to COVID. That's really where the Postal Service has seen problems in the last couple of months. But really, they're not anticipating problems for the election. I think they're a little concerned that that some states, for example, some states allow voters to request a ballot as late as October 29th, which then must be mailed and returned in less than 4 delivery days. In situations like that, that's when the U.S. Postal Service has issued warnings, and that's what people have been hearing about.
Yeah, we've definitely seen like some former insiders of the USPS start standing up and saying, there's a lot of noise here.
A lot of hype.
There's a lot of noise, but the truth is the post office is actually operating.
Yeah.
So is that sort of the headline here?
Yeah, I mean, we feel good. I mean, obviously, this is the crux of our business. We feel good about the capacity and their ability to handle it. And I think, we also heard the Postmaster General is not moving equipment. I don't think there was really any concern on the inside about that to begin with, but because of the huge public outcry, they just decided, let's just leave things the way they are until after the election.
Dave, what are you thinking about, for our regional marketers, anything about the post office performance you want to talk to?
So aside from political mail, we do a lot of regular everyday business mail. And what I've been trying to do is both Pitney Bowes, who's a big mail partner of ours, and the USPS have deliverability reports where you can look at regionally how long it takes for a mail piece of first class to get to a certain location, and the same thing for nonprofit mail and standard mail. And in all the reports I've seen so far, there's been very little deviation from historical norms. Due to COVID, the post office has changed. Certain facilities would only handle a certain class of mail. They've changed. They've done some, very like flats versus letters. I don't want to go too far into the weeds, but for the most part, we haven't seen any real impacts. My only concern, and it's something, that the post office did make some changes recently. It did take some processing machines out of certain facilities, did remove certain mailboxes. And if that's not changed or not, put back to its previous state, we're not going to know if that has any impact until it actually has the impact. So it's kind of hard to plan around that, but everything we've done so far and everything that we're planning on so far, our mail dates for the most part on our mail plans have not changed. We plan on dropping the mail at the same time, maybe build in 1 or 2 extra days of buffer to be safe.
So we shouldn't be panicking about the loss of the Postal Service for this cycle.
I don't think so.
That's great. Hey, I want to shift gears again. So, my world is mostly B2B, and one of my clients' concerns is it's really hard to reach prospects at work by telephone. We're talking about the sort of the death of the cold call. It's super difficult. So, how can we address this issue with digital and maybe also physical and direct mail? If I want to reach potential users of a software product that's widely applicable, let's say like an expense reporting application, how can I do that? Clarence, do you have any insight there? And just before you go, I just want to encourage the participants. We're getting up to the point where we're going to do some Q&A. So if you have questions, please put them in either the chat box or the Q&A box. So Clarence, talk to us about reaching B2B prospects at home via digital and direct.
The best way to really reach those decision makers we have found is LinkedIn. It's a little expensive. It's probably one of the most expensive things out there, but you can do 2 things, both from sellers and for a business trying to reach businesses, is you can target the consumer you want, but you also can see, if you know how to operate via LinkedIn, who's actually viewing their profile and target them too. So you really can work very strategically with the digital place in LinkedIn, but also we have ways of targeting. We work for a company called Blue Diamond Nuts. You may have heard of Blue Diamond Nuts. there are actually 700 nut decision makers in the United States. We have technology via digitally and cover wrap, which is more print out application, to reach them via technology of uploading CMR list and building like images against them. But we have worked with them for the last 13 years. So and every year it changes a little because the targeting tactics change dramatically. So there's ways of doing it digitally. There's absolute ways of targeting. It has to be done strategically. It has to be done cost effectively, but we can target as granular as nut decision makers all the way to someone who's interested in making decisions on wealth management. So you can use, it's a multi-page approach when you look at it with regards to digital and with mail or direct mail.
David, are you seeing any of your clients on the B2B side pushing more money toward direct mail and trying to reach people, like in an account-based marketing way, or, what's going on, with your client base?
I would say since March, since things with COVID really kicked in, we on balance, we've been doing less B2B direct mail. The majority of our direct mail has been B2C, and also with nonprofits, doing appeals campaigns and just connecting with donors and supporters. What I would say with B2B, with direct mail, unless you have solid home addresses, or that a specific company is going to be in their offices, it's a challenge certainly to do that. I mean, we do also have certain services. We have one service called Lead Match, which allows us to actually generate mailing lists from visitors to a website. So you can actually convert unique visitors to your website and actually aggregate their mailing addresses and then do direct mail campaigns to them. But we have found it a bit of a challenge to do B2B right now. Alan might have some other insights on that.
Yeah, Alan, I was going to ask
companies.
What the national B2B guys are doing.
Yep. So we do quite a bit of B2B direct mail, and we have B2B data that allows us to make the connection between B2B and consumer in terms of address. So for example, if you've got an executive in the office, probably about 60, we can make the connection about 60% of the time to a home address. And so, which is really interesting because it allows us to target not only based on B2B data characteristics for analytics purposes, but also consumer data as well that can come into the decision-making mix. So we do, and of course there's plenty of, on the small business side, there's plenty of people that we're always working from home. Yep. But the point is that we can reach a lot of these people through our B2B, B2C data connection.
So it's sort of like a data append, right? In a sense.
Yeah. So we can make that connection.
Yeah, and just to add to that, it's important for our clients that we're working with to know their clients. I mean, they have to help us help them. So a lot of times a mailing or a similar type of program is only as good as the data that you have to start with. So if you have,
you're expecting the client to have its act together?
Well, if they're going to give you a list of their clients to mail to, you would hope that their aggregated data that they have on their own client base is somewhat accurate or somewhat up to date. And it's just like with the mail piece, the content is crucial. The content of the mailing list or any kind of outreach.
The list hygiene is really important here.
Yes,
right?
super important.
So before we try and put something in the mail, we need to make sure we know who we're sending it to, right?
Yeah, and that they'll actually be there.
Getting near the top of the hour, we do have a few questions coming in, but I want to just keep plowing through. We have one other, I thought, really good topic. And again, if we look local, and we touched on work from home a few times, where is the opportunity in work from home? Has it created opportunity for local or regional marketers? Dave, maybe we start with you. What's happened that maybe is maybe it's obvious, but maybe it's not, that you're seeing people targeting?
Well, again, at least as far from our perspective, B2C is the biggest opportunity with people stuck at home. So any marketers that are working with home services companies or any other companies that are focused on consumers, I mean, you have that captive audience there. So that's to me, that's a much easier lift than doing big mailings for B2B right now. But we've found that actual response rates, especially for the B2C, are up during this whole time. So, you know, if you have marketers out there that are working in the B2C space, direct mail is something that they should absolutely be working with.
Clarence, are the properties that you guys work with seeing that same kind of trend? I mean, is work from home creating opportunity that, you know, wasn't there before?
It's interesting. 70% of my company, M&I, is a work from home environment because we have offices all over the country. So most of my sales reps and outer offices are in their homes. It's for the central main office where we have about 72 people. What will be intriguing to me from perspective of work from home and employees, what it will be like when we get out of this and for recruitment of people, because they're not going to have to live and drive to the office anymore. They'll be able to work potentially from anywhere if that's the case when it comes to employees themselves. But for targeting with folks working from home, it's made it harder but easier for us, to be honest with you, because you know they're there. You know they're on their phone. You know they're what they're looking for based on what we're seeing in the research. And COVID research has been very interesting. They care about their home, their family, and making sure they're healthy and safe. That's what they care about. Anything outside of that is just noise. So if you can market knowing those things, you can really open people's eyes and really get them to buy into the product that your clients are selling.
So categories like wellness might do much better than they might have done before, more receptivity to that kind of thing.
100%. Wellness, anything that has to do with fixing your home, home improvement, furniture. That is really, we've seen that grow dramatic. Food. I mean, recipes. Our magazine division subscriptions are up almost 30% during COVID because people want our All Recipes brand, Better Homes and Gardens, and they want it mailed to them because they don't want to go out and buy it.
Hey, so that's good. You know, that's great. I wanted to just ask both these guys with you on the panel, any unexpected winners or losers that you've seen, Alan?
In terms of just work from home or
Yeah, because of COVID, any unexpected winners that, you know, might be interesting for people to think about as they're considering their own business, or losers?
Well, I think one area that we've seen growth on the digital side is over the top advertising. So OTT type of advertising, which is really buying space in terms of streaming video, right? So, you know, just in the last few months, we've seen Disney Plus come out, we've seen NBC Peacock, we've seen HBO Max. I mean, there's opportunities in terms of these streaming video channels to advertise, and that is available on a local basis. So definitely, I think that this is going to be an area that's really going to explode.
Yeah,
next year.
I was thinking as we were in the Zoom today,
yeah,
you know, that Zoom should have advertising, right? I mean,
yep.
They've got everybody all day on the stupid product, and there's no advertising on it.
Right. So, exactly. So I think you know this opportunity really is just starting to grow, and I think, you know, given the fragmentation of the cable and you know, traditional TV, I think you're just going to see.
So OTT is the big winner here.
Exactly.
Dave, any unexpected winners or losers? And then we got a couple of questions from the audience.
No, I would just say the people, the companies, the marketing people that I've seen that have been successful during this time are the ones that have had the capacity to innovate, be creative, and meet their clients where they are, as opposed to trying to do the same old thing that might have worked 6 months ago, but isn't working now. So it's more general in those terms. You really need to be receptive to the environment that you're in and be creative in your thought process on how to reach people and how to speak to them.
Okay, thank you. So got a couple of questions here. And again, if you have a question, you're in the audience, feel free to use the Q&A pane and get us a question or two. So we touched on this a little bit in terms of using direct mail to drive to device. we talked about the QR code maybe being resuscitated. Are there any other trends or methods to make that easy? And is anyone doing augmented reality and finding use for augmented reality with direct?
We're using it in magazines, augmented reality. We use it. It rolled out about 8 months ago, really. And we did our first major test with 3 clients. One was a CVB, one was a casino out in Las Vegas. And the beauty
of the first one, Clarn?
First one was a CVB. It was you could see it was in the magazine. It was St. Petersburg, Tampa, CVB.
Oh, Convention and Visitors Bureau. Sorry,
I'm sorry. What they do is they can create they can bring basic magazine ad to life, and it can change on the fly. And we built it, and it's our back end where it can be geospatial. So if you're in Orlando, you see something different than what you'll see in St. Petersburg versus in Hartford, Connecticut. So they've loved it. They have actually renewed for this, we think, but COVID's changed a couple of things. They look like they want to do something for first quarter. And the same thing with the casino in Las Vegas. They dropped right in COVID, and they were able to make a major pivot and change their message on the fly that was in the ad they were looking for meeting planners, and they were trying to attract meeting planners to book time at their new convention center. So they quickly pivoted to change their messaging in the augmented reality to allow them to do basically tours of the new venues, and that worked really well for them. So we are in it. It was coming fast, but COVID kind of slowed it a little bit. But it's really one that in the next year or two really is going to, I think, for us, blow up.
So augmented reality is a way for us to have some flexibility if we're uncertain about what the environment would be by the time the message is in market. We might be able to make a change. I think that's something that people might not have thought of. So thank you. Anything else in Drive to Device, Alan or Dave, that you want to bring up? Alan,
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you were muted for a second.
Oh, okay. We've been really focused on the integration of digital and direct mail, and driving to the other and vice versa. So, for example, we do mobile geofencing. We'll take a postal file and we will match it via latitude and longitude and draw a fence around a retail establishment or an event space, and then serve them. And at the same time that they're getting direct mail, they could be seeing an ad on their cell phone for that once they enter into that space. So this has been used recently in healthcare when people would go to Medicare meetings. Of course, that's not being used right now given COVID. But so things like that, digital overlay, matching direct mail to the digital environment so you can serve up simultaneous ads as direct mail. Pixel retargeting on the web. So someone goes to a website, we send out triggered direct mail, they get the mail within days. That sort of thing has a response that can be twice as much as regular direct mail. So things like that, that's really where we've been focusing on that intersection.
So actually web to direct, that might be an interesting also B2B play where we know who those people are, right?
Right, and we're even doing that in B2B. We can serve someone an ad on LinkedIn when they're at the same time they're getting their B2B mail.
Awesome, thank you. So here's a question. I'm not sure, if we're the folks to answer it, but are media expenses due to rise, or do we know what the rise is going to be due to the political season? Are direct response TV spots getting super expensive? I realize we're mostly a direct marketing group, but maybe Clarn, you have some insight because you guys have some TV stations as well.
Depends the state. With our Phoenix stations, for sure, cost has gone up dramatically. But when you look at our station in Missouri, Kansas City, that probably has not happened because they're not going to see a lot of political. Same thing with our Hartford, New Haven DMA TV station. There most likely will not be a lot of political, so prices will probably be pretty constant of what they're used to being. But wherever there's going to be big big plays like you're seeing in, again, I keep going to Phoenix because that really is going to be where it lands. Georgia's going to be big. Iowa's going to be gigantic. Maine, if you're in those markets, you will see an uptick because the first play for most political advertisers is they spend about 75% of their money in TV, traditional linear TV. It's where they drop it. They still believe in it, and that's where they spend their money. And then everything builds down that. And there's always different budgets for direct mail. That's really incredibly important. Digital starting to become important. Facebook and Google is really the digital play. They see about 70% of the dollars there. But if you're in those key swing markets, you're going to see it drive up. You can't avoid it because it's going to be everywhere.
Thank you. So maybe what I ought to do is just sort of do a quick lightning round, a minute with each of you guys. And I prepped you for this, so I hope you have a good answer. What didn't I ask you, or what didn't we discuss that you think our audience should want to know? Given what we've discussed, what's your takeaway for the audience? Why don't we start with Dave?
Let's see, what you didn't ask. I don't know, you asked a lot of questions. Well, I would say that the only thing that's certain right now is uncertainty. There's, due to COVID, due to the political season, there's really so many things that are out of our control that we might not really know the answer to them until they actually come to pass. So you need to take that into account for at least the next 2 to 3 months in your planning, whether it be media buying, whether it be direct mail. You have to decide, how important a particular project or program is that you're looking to roll out, and what the best methodology is to do that, and what these potential unforeseen impacts are going to be. I think that a lot of that is going to be cleared up and a lot easier to do once November 3rd is passed. But until November 3rd, there's just so much uncertainty. Like I said, we work with tons of political clients, and I would say more than half of them still do not have a concrete mail plan for what mailings they plan on dropping them and when they plan on dropping them. So there's so much flux like that. And along with Clarence was saying, if you look, especially, I'm not too savvy with media markets, but I would assume Georgia and Florida kind of in similar areas. You've got 2 Senate races in Georgia. Florida is the absolute swing state. So I got to imagine media of every kind is going to be insanely difficult to plan in those environments, in those regions.
Yeah. Hey, Clarence, so this is your shot. What didn't I ask you that you think our audience needs to know?
I think what we didn't really talk about is what do we see fourth quarter being, and then also going into first quarter for 2021. And from what we're seeing for most of our clients, there's not a lot of long-term planning. Everything is more or less a month out commitments. But what we're also seeing is budgets are actually fairly decent. They may be down 5 or 10%. So if you are trying to sell to a particular client that that's having success in COVID times, and there are some that are having some really good success.
Sure, there are plenty of winners, right?
They're home runs. I mean, look at Home Depot, Lowe's. The furniture retail stores, the healthcare.
Pianos.
Say again?
Pianos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can't find a bicycle. They're nowhere.
Took me forever to find a kayak.
Right, exactly. So if you can bring the right idea to a client with the right attribution and really shows them a way that they can sell more of their product, they will find the money to spend it, because people do have budgets. They're not frozen, but you got to come with a solution that makes sense, because I think fourth quarter is not going to be a positive quarter unless you're getting political. I think it'll be a minus, but it's not going to be double digits. It feels better than that right now. And
so the headline is the world has not ended for most marketers, and some are really doing well.
Quite the opposite.
Great. And
Alan, don't get me wrong, Ken, it's not good, but it's not what it was in second quarter. If it's getting, the new norm is here. What it's going to be, I have no idea, but people are spending dollars.
Alan, what you got for us?
So, I think to these guys' points, I think a lot depends on the industry vertical, right? We kind of know where the big spending is happening and where it's not. I think COVID's changed so much in marketing. I don't think marketing should cease. I think for marketers that are in industries that are not doing well, I think it should be more customer focused. And I think I think there should be more of a customer focus in general. So you need to think about the comfort, the safety, the financial situation of your customers in mind, and acknowledge this in your communications. And we see this, among the clients that we think are doing marketing right. They're
awesome.
Acknowledging the situation, and they're speaking to it and not shying away from it.
Great. So we're going to land it there. I want to thank our panelists, Alan Sherman, Claren DePalma, and David Stowe. For all of the people who stuck it out with us, the full hour and 15 minutes, thank you. We will distribute the recording. And gents, if you have resources that you would like us to send to the registrants as well as attendees, we'll do that with a transmission from the AMA. So my name again is Ken Lempet. This was the AMA Southern Connecticut Chapters webinar. And we're so glad you could join us this evening. Be well, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ken.